Okay, we're doing an orientation video on Crossover by R-Vision. We just picked up, these are kind of the mid-sized trailers, only 7 foot wide, that we purchased the last couple years just to see if these are going to work out in our rental fleet. Grant is going to demonstrate the hitch hookup here. We're backed up and going to install a weight distribution hitch. He's showing you the 7-way trailer plug. It's your responsibility to show up here with a standard 7-way spade trailer plug. It's got 6 slats on the outside and 1 round one in the middle. That is to facilitate a left turn, right turn, tail light, and ground, and the electric trailer brake controller switch that we recommend that you install on your vehicle. It also allows for a positive lead to charge up the house battery going down the road as well. So it's your responsibility whether you show up with all of those working or not. He's going to go ahead and lower the front jack down onto the 2 5/16 inch ball on the weight distribution hitch. As you see it going down, he's going to actually apply a little bit of weight to the truck itself. You're going to see the trailer's got all the weight now. Now it's going to start to sink the truck. So go ahead and stop right about there. So we've put a little bit of weight on the truck, a little bit of weight on the trailer. These are keyed. These are a new style of weight distribution hitch. You probably can't pick it up there, but there is actually a little keyway on the end of those bars. He's going to slide it up through the bottom one, the donut, and through the keyway on the top one. There's only one way in to do that. And then you see him swivel it the other way. That way it locks into place. He's going to pull that saddle down to a 90-degree level. See, it's 90 degrees from the frame, and then we're going to measure out how many chain links to go. So it looks like he's going to, what we call cheat and chain, he's going to cheat about 2 links. See how he's laid it back there so you have an open half link to go ahead and grab that hook. Go ahead and hook it on the bottom there. See how that's nice and even? See how when it comes tight there, it's hitting at about 90-degree angle as well. So that's just right. He's going to put the nut buster on there, and he's going to lift up with his legs, and he's going to install the clip, the lock. Once he's got that done, he's going to go to the other side and do the other one on the same way. And then we're going to see the distribution, demonstrate the distribution. Yep. So if you look over now, he's distributed the weight. Go ahead and run that jack down, Grant, just a little bit, or run it up. You can see how the jack is also loose right there from the ground. So we've taken half the load that was on the ball itself and distributed it between where and where, Grant? Point to it. Distributed all the weight from the tongue to here. So hence, when you hear the term weight distribution, that's exactly what he's talking about. Now he's gonna show you on the tanks that we always run off the left-hand tank here. And so the left tank is always open. You have a regulator switch there, is pointed to the left. Green valve shows that it's good to go and it's full. We always run off the left-hand tank. That way you just need to refill the left-hand tank. Should you need to switch from the left-hand tank to the right-hand tank, you turn off the tank on the left-hand side, switch the regulator valve to the right tank, and then open it up. We're going to go inside and do an orientation through inside. Again, we're going to cover this again on the hitch, but the rest of this information you're going to have to know solid when you get here. So take notes and be prepared. Okay, we just happen to be in the bathroom of this Crossover. This is where the indicator panel is, and we're going to show you how to read it and stay up on it. Indicator panel. This is your gray tank. This is where the shower and the sink wastewater goes. This is the black tank. That's where the toilet waste goes. That's your fresh water, your potable, portable, not drinkable. That's the water you're taking with you to use if you don't have water hookup in your battery condition. Water pump and test level. So watch as I push this test level. You notice there that the lights are all lit up, the battery has a good charge, and the fresh water is full. And the holding tanks, more importantly, the holding tanks are empty. The black tank has been cleaned and dumped, and it is sanitary. Gray tank has been cleaned and dumped as well. So that's how you want to pick up a travel trailer, or any RV, quite frankly. The holding tanks have been dumped and cleaned. Now, just a real quick point, you're not required to return this empty, or this full. That's not part of your cleaning deposit. The water pump is right here. Anytime you want to get water out of this freshwater reservoir, potable, portable tank. You need to pump it out. Think of it as a well or reservoir, whatever you need to do to remind yourself that you have to have the water pump on to access that water. It doesn't matter whether you're taking a toilet or a shower, using the toilet or the sink. I'd have the water pump on. Conversely, if you're hooked up to city water, you have city water pressure, you're not required to have it on because you're not using that water supply. So anyway, I'm going to leave that water pump on so we can demo a couple other things as we do this. So panning around here in the bathroom, you have a GFI plug right there. So if you happen to trip one of the plug-ins and you don't have power, hit that GFI plug. Chances are you tripped it. Here's the sink water. You see the valve in the middle. You pull it up and you distribute the water from the sink into the shower. So the theory is if you're taking a shower, turn the hot water on, the cold water on. Go ahead. Turn them on just to show them. You can hear the pump in the background kicking on because we're not hooked up to water, by the way. And then we're not going to do it. We are not going to do it, but you can pull up on that valve and then take that water and put it into the shower. Go ahead and turn that off. I'm going to jump up and take a look at the shower valve here. Try to keep it in focus here. You got a shower head at the top. So anyway, tell the kids to turn it on, get the water to where they want it. Turn the water on, get wet, turn it off, get soaked up, then turn it back on. Boom. Okay, I did a good job there. Anyway, I'm going to pan over to the toilet. The toilet valve, you see it off to the right, and then the toilet cover. And so go ahead and lift up the toilet lid there, Grant. Now go ahead and pull on the valve halfway. See how the toilet valve stays closed, but it's filling up with water. So if the kids are going to stand down here and take a big growler or whatnot, you want to fill it up about half full, about where it is now. Shut it off, have a valve movement, go ahead, flush it. Flushes and rinses at the same time. Conversely, if the kids are just peeing in there, just have them do what we call a dry pee. They just pee in there and go ahead and flush it and rinse at the same time. One of the biggest mistakes that they make is that people during a bowel movement, taking a big growler, don't use enough water. Want to make sure that you use enough water so that you don't plug up the toilet. And obviously that would go into the black tank right there. So as you use the toilet, these lights will shoot up. So anyway, we're going to get repositioned here in the kitchen and get to it. All right, we're in the inside. We're going to go over a couple of things, roof air conditioner, microwave, refrigerator stuff. So anyway, I want to reiterate the fact that you need to know the difference between AC, DC, and LP. So AC is alternating current, DC is direct current, and LP is liquid propane. Okay, so when we talk about this is the roof air conditioner. This is an AC unit. This is a roof air. It's a microwave, whatnot. So there are a couple of appliances that require AC. Okay, require electricity. Microwave and the roof air conditioner and the plug-ins, any of these plug-ins, even called the GFI in the back there, they all require AC power. If you were to bring something you plug in, a toaster or a microwave, or not a microwave, but a blender, margarita blender or whatever, those appliances require AC, alternating current. So you must have AC to run these appliances. This is my indicator species. The microwave right here, when it lights up here, that LED light tells me that the RV itself has access to AC power. It is hooked up to alternating current. Now I don't know whether we're running a generator or whether we're hooked in the shore power, if we're in a park, or if we're in a neighbor's yard garage plug, you know, with 200 feet of cable. I don't know that. I just know that we have sufficient AC power to run the microwave right there. So if this is lit up, we know we have AC power. So if this is lit up and maybe one of the plug-ins doesn't work, guess what? You tripped a breaker. You have an appliance problem, not a power supply problem. If this is lit up and the roof air conditioner will not work, then you have an appliance problem. You've tripped the AC power here down probably at the AC panel there. Very common to have that trip, especially if you're running on 110 power, you're not hooked up to a 30 amp service. We'll cover that a little bit. Maybe you're plugged in a relative's place and you got 200 feet of extension cord. Guess what? You're pulling more power than it can supply. It's going to trip the breaker. Okay. If this is not lit up, then you have a supply problem. That means you trip the breaker in your nephew's garage, or even at the park, you've tripped the breaker. All of these parks aren't set up to handle all the demand of all the power of the motorhomes and travel trailers nowadays. So anyway, so this is not lit up, supply problem. This is lit up, and something else doesn't work, then you have an appliance problem. Switching gears, we're going to talk about the stove. It is LP only, liquid propane gas only. You push on it and light. Do bring a striker, some matches. There you see how it heats up. Turn it over like this. So pretty simple. As long as you have LP, you have stove top. Turn it off here. This is your hot water tank. We're going to show you that on the outside when we walk by. Hot water tank is LP as well. It's liquid propane gas. So I'm going to turn this on, and it's going to take about a couple of seconds, and you're going to see that light go out, and it's going to light automatically. So it's electronic ignition. So you're going to hear it click and light as it's already done. 6 gallons, 12 minutes. 6 gallons, 12 minutes. It's only a 6-gallon hot water tank. So again, getting back to what we talked about at the shower, you don't want to leave that water running all the time. You want to just get wet, turn it off, get soaked up, turn it back on, or else it's going to get real cold real quick. We suggest that you do not leave that on all the time. It is an exposed flame. It'll kick on and keep it up at an ambient temperature, so it'll kick on and kick off, kick on and kick off. And so most of the time it's off because it's up to temperature, so we don't want you to forget and leave it on and travel down the road with it on. So turn it off after you're done using it. I'm going to switch gears. We're going to talk a little about the roof air conditioner. We're going to talk about the refrigerator or the furnace and the refrigerator. Again, the AC roof air conditioner is AC power. The switches are right here. There's a thermostat switch that should always be on the coldest position. I don't know why they even have a knob for it. That's a fan position, fan low, fan high. You can hear that kicked on the compressor here, so that's on the, so you got a fan, and then an air conditioner. Now we're only on 15 amp service here, so we do have power. Don't be surprised if during this video that kicks off here in a second, because we're only running on 15 amp service, and you'll know more about that here in a second. So it's already cooling down. So you have to have AC power to run the microwave, the plug-ins, and the roof air conditioner right here. So other than that, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's just high and low settings. We're off. Conversely, or differently, this is the thermostat. This is for heat. This is air conditioning. This is heat. Forced air gas furnace. Forced air gas furnace. So the forced air is actually driven by a fan. When I turn this on in a second, you're going to hear a fan kick on. It's going to run for about 15 seconds, and then you probably won't pick it up, but it will actually ignite or light the LP furnace. The forced air gas furnace. Now, you don't need to worry about this other than the fact if you're dry camping, you're not hooked up to electricity, that forced air gas, that forced air is run off the battery. It's a DC driven battery. It's a DC driven fan. So when you turn this on, if that fan will run down throughout the night, you're going to wear the battery down. So if you're dry camping, not hooked up to electricity, then make sure you go to bed with a full charge on the battery, or always should run this as low a setting as you can. Conversely, if you're hooked up to electricity, why are you even running this? Why don't you bring an electric space heater, plug it into one of the mini outlets here, and have that be your ambient air temperature, and then set this to a lower temperature so that if it gets real cold, then it kicks on. Otherwise, it doesn't. A lot of people don't like the forced air gas furnace because it is a little bit more humid than electric heat that we're mostly used to. This is the off switch here. We call it that because it only says off and say on. And you have a thermostat down here. So let's say we're heading to bed right now. I'm going to turn this sucker on, and that's a hard little switch. So we're going to turn it on. I'm going to set the thermostat. It's April and it's hot as can be today. Just set this here. Hear that kick on. Hopefully you can hear that, but you have right now a furnace fan going, and so that's running off the battery power. The battery's being charged up, by the way, by the AC power we have up here, so we're plugged in electricity. It's going to run for a couple more seconds. Right there we heard a click sound. Now it's a roar sound. That's the furnace coming up. So that's lighting the propane. I'll bring it up to temperature. So it'll run at the temperature, shut on and off, on and off, on and off. Get up in the morning, maybe it's nice and warm, and you forget to turn this off. It's going to run all day. So you want to make sure that when you turn this off, it's a hard switch. And so I'm pulling pretty hard, and then it clicks off. I heard the furnace. I'm sure you didn't hear it, but the furnace clicked off immediately, and it's going to the fan portion, forced air gas furnace. So the fan portion of it's going to run for another 20-30 seconds. That's just to dissipate any residual heat and any unburnt propane out. Switching gears, we're going to run to the refrigerator. Refrigerator is one of the neat appliances that runs off from two sources. It can run just as well off from AC as it does with LP. Hence the setting. We have an auto and off gas. overwhelmingly we have these travel trailers and motorhomes leaving here on the auto position. Meaning it's going to automatically look for electricity. If electricity is available, it's going to grab it and use it. If it's not, it's automatically going to switch over liquid from the gas and light off the switch and test itself. So you want to grab that, I'll be back. So when I have it on the auto position right now, we're on. And we are on AC power. I'm looking up here. So I know we're on alternating current right now. So this refrigerator is running on alternating current. When you get to we want it that way. So when you back up and hook up electricity, it will automatically, here's the term auto, run on alternating current. As soon as you unplug that, it will automatically switch over to LP gas. So when you're going down the road, it's staying nice and cold, but it's running on propane. So we want to encourage you, anytime you go into a gas station, furnace fan just went off, by the way, guys. We want you to send somebody back here and turn the unit off. That extinguishes the flame, and then it will cut off the gas. It won't run on AC or LP. So go into the gas station, fill up with gas. As you're pulling out, go ahead and turn this to auto. It will check for AC, and if it doesn't have it, it will switch to LP gas. You have a temperature setting here. Well, one more thing. Very rarely, but sometimes we'll run this on gas only, and that's only for if you've instructed us that you will not have any access to electricity at all. Then instead of having that cycle back and forth, we're going to have you run it on gas only. So it is going to be gas the entire time, because you know ahead of time you don't have AC power. So I'm going to turn that to auto. You have a temperature setting that sets it from anywhere from 1 to 5. And then you have door locks, or excuse me, door openers like this. There is a travel lock in the back here. Highly encourage you not to use those. Kids will see that and they'll end up forgetting about the travel lock. They'll end up breaking this whole handle off. We just haven't had any problems with doors flying open going down the road, so we just don't think that this travel lock is necessary at all. Couple of things when you come in. Chances are we already have this plugged in for you and it's nice and frozen for you. The refrigerator and the freezer are just funny things. We see time and time again that people leave here and the freezer is completely empty and the refrigerator is full of food. One of the best tips I can give you is no beverage in the refrigerator. You know, bring a cooler, put it on ice, all your pop, you know, all your beer, all your wine coolers, put them on ice. Don't leave them in here. Leave this for food. And up here, you know, this should really just be for frozen meals, ice, and vodka. The three things, the essentials for the freezer. But make sure you fill it up. I don't care if you fill it up with 4 gallons of vodka or a couple of blocks of ice. It's just like the freezer at home, guys. If it's empty, it's working its butt off to keep cold. But if you got it full, it doesn't have to work as hard. If it doesn't have to work as hard, this is more efficient and keeps it more regulated. So do yourself a favor, fill this with vodka and ice, and this with all kinds of goodies, and put your pop and your water out in the coolers. We're going to reset up. I see Grant's talking to somebody else, so we're going to reset up outside, and we're going to go from there. All right, we're going to continue this orientation all the way on the outside. I'm at the front passenger side. Once you've actually unhooked from the RV and you've rolled ahead and you've leveled the RV from the front to the back, then you're going to run down all the stabilizing jacks. We call them stab jacks. And so you're going to run these. You have a little jack handle right here, hooked into the socket. And you go ahead and run these down until they hit and do a couple of cranks up. These are not designed to lift the RV or level the RV. It's just to stabilize the jack or stabilize the RV. So you can actually strip these out. So actually adjust the levelness with the big jack in the front, the tongue jack up and down, and then go ahead and run all 4 corners down. So once you've done that, you can go ahead and walk around the RV. This is actually the entry door here. You have a lock for the deadbolt and the door lock. We suggest that you do not use the deadbolt. Just doesn't seem to line up as well. Plenty secure if you just use the lock in the front here. You get in the habit of having this tethered back. Anytime you have the door open, you want it, instead of swinging back and forth, have it tethered back here. You can use the screen door, obviously. Once you want to take off and you want to kick these stairs up, what you need to do is lean on the top step and then kind of break. There's lots of times there's sand in here, so go ahead and break this loose, fold that one up, and fold lit up. Obviously, when you travel down the road, you want to make sure that those are in the up position. This is your potable, portable, not drinkable, but portable or potable water supply. It's gravity fed, so you can actually bring water with you in 5-gallon jugs and whatnot, and actually refill this potable tank or use a white water hose that we supplied with. So potable, portable, not drinkable. This is an AC plug here, so if you're plugged in electricity with the travel trailer itself, you can actually plug in like an electric fry pan, or you can plug in a food warmer or a radio or a TV, anything you want to plug in here. These will be live only if you're plugged in on the outside. Have a small storage compartment on the outside here. You just flip this open, clip it back. It goes clear underneath those bottom bunks in the back that we talked about earlier. And next thing we're going to show you is we're going to get reset up on the hot water tank in the back. Right in the back of the RV here is the hot water tank. This is actually underneath the bottom bunk in the back that we were talking about before. Again, remember, 6 gallons, 12 minutes. 6 gallons, 12 minutes. So it takes about 12 minutes to heat this up to full capacity. Once you turn on the switch, it's only a 6-gallon hot water tank. Really nothing else you need to know about this other than just turn it off when you're not using it. We're going to get reset up on the dump site and the water intake. We're on the driver's side at the rear entrance, hooked up by the kind of the utility vault, if you will. This is the dump site. This is the shore power. This is the water connection. We're going to talk about all of these things here. But first, before we go on, this is the third stab jack. So this is on the driver's side and the rear. So you're going to want to have that set in place before you do take access to the trailer or whatnot. So if you need to dump, again, you're not required to dump. I want you to think back about the control panel, the leveling system, and it said you had gray, black, and fresh. This is going to be the black and the gray. So right here, liquid waste. This is the gray tank. This is the black tank. That's what those indicator levels are showing. So if you need to dump the black tank or the gray tank, this is where you're going to do it. You're going to hook up what we call a dump hose. This isn't a sewer hose. It only has one end, so this is only to be used in the process of dumping. You go ahead and hook it up here. It's pretty self-explanatory. There's 4 nipples where you actually just screw that on. And then you see these gate valves are wide open. Don't be surprised if when you pick up the travel trailer, those valves are wide open, because we're going to clean and sanitize those tanks before you get here and leave those tanks wide open so you know that there's no sewage left in there. So let's say we're halfway through the week and we need to dump the holding tanks. We're going to hook up the sewer hose and we're going to dump both tanks, even though maybe the gray-black tank isn't open or isn't full. So we're going to just pull this valve straight down, and that's the black tank, and it's going to flush out all the sewage. Once that's run out, we're going to go ahead and close that tank and rinse out the holding tank with the gray water, with shower water and sink water. That will clean out this hose as well and make it a little bit easier, less smell. So that's going to discharge everything. Once that's discharged, go ahead and dump it or close that valve like that. If it's still reading or indicating that you have stuff in the black tank, you might want to run a little bit of toilet water in there, close it up, and flush it out again. It's just toilet paper and sewage that's hung up on the holding or the indicator lights. Again, you're not required to return the motorhome, empty a black tank, a gray tank. We're going to flush those things anyway. We have a dump site here on site. You're not required to use biodegradable toilet paper because we're going to flush it and clean it for you, just like we did for the previous rental. Now, if you have water at your site, we walk over and grab a water hose. We supply you with a freshwater hose. White hose right here. It's real simple to just take this off and hook up the water hose. And hook it up to the spigot or the source, basically right here. So you would turn it on and that would pressurize the lines, and therefore you wouldn't have to use the water pump because you're not using your fresh water that you're portaging or potable water that you're portaging with you. You would simply just use the city pressure that you have here. Again, we don't encourage you to use that for drinking water because you don't know what the previous source of the water is. We encourage that you use bottled water for drinking water. Other than that, you can use it for potable water, so anything to cook with, clean dishes with would be fine. Your shore power, your AC power is right here. I'm going to unscrew this here. There's your in connection here. So you simply take this out of the storage. Turn it to the right. And go ahead and tighten this thing on so that it is nice and secure so it won't rip out. We provide you with a what's called a park adapter. All RVs will have a 30 amp service just like this. And most of your services will be hooked up to a 30 amp service. We provide you with a park adapter, so just in case you were at your brother-in-law's house or something and you wanted to hook up to normal 110 power, you can simply do that as well. So we'll leave that plugged in. This is your furnace exhaust. We talked about the forced air gas furnace. This is where it actually exhausts at. Really nothing else to tell you other than don't leave anything stacked up or anything flammable out here. This is your refrigerator vent. So if you can envision in the living room when we were talking, this is your refrigerator right here. This is the back side of it. It has to be louvered or vented because again, remember that it's going to be on AC or LP. And so when it's on LP, liquid propane gas, it actually needs to draw in air. So that's why this is louvered, so they can draw in air when it's on the propane gas. The next thing to show you, if you can see back here, you don't really necessarily need to see it. Storage goes all the way through. And your fourth and final stab jack. So just make sure that those are all intact. At this point, you need to go through an orientation checkout video or checkout form. We call it a what do we call it? Checkout form.
Physical damage.
Physical damage checkout form. So you're going to go through there, document any damage you see on the outside or the inside, and we'll get you out of here. So thanks for renting.